In the yesterday's class, we solved this example, okay, with 2 points. Determine the developed torque and the shaft torque. So we have found out the torque developed in the armature and the shaft torque developed at the load. Okay. Now I have to find the total armature losses and efficiency of the motor. Okay. So total armature losses are armature copper loss plus iron loss plus mechanical loss. Okay. So we have discussed what is iron loss and what is mechanical loss. Okay. Iron loss are eddy current and hysteresis loss. Mechanical loss are friction and voltage loss. Okay. So here to find out this iron loss and mechanical loss, iron loss plus mechanical loss, okay, I have to convert the developed torque and the shaft torque into the powers. Then when I take the difference of developed power and the shaft power, then I get these losses. Because whenever I want to find the efficiency, it should be power output, electrical output. So what I will do now? Okay. So armature copper losses, I will take separately here. Okay. Armature copper loss is equals to IA square. I can write RA plus RSC because it is a series motor. And combinedly, the armature circuit is having a resistance of 0.6. So IA is 45 amperes square into 0.6. So this comes out to be 1215 watts. Okay. So armature copper loss comes out to be 1215 watts. Then I will convert the power developed from the get the power developed from the torque developed. So power developed at armature power developed by armature PA is equals to 2 pi n TA divided by 60. Okay, 2 pi n TA divided by 60. Is the speed given here? No, we have calculated from 289.5 rpm. Okay, so I can substitute 2 pi into 289.5 into TA. TA is 286.2 divided by 60. So this is power developed. So this comes out to be
8672.14.
8672.14. All are getting the same. Yes, others? Others? All are getting the same?
8676.54, sir.
8676.
8676, sir.
867. Yeah, how come you will get 8676? Okay, okay, fine. We will take that.
8676.54.
54 watts. I think pi is taken only 3.14. For that, there will be a slight difference. Okay, okay, fine. Next, power output of the motor. Okay, what is power output of the motor? It is 8.2 kilowatts. We have that. Okay. So power output of the motor power output of motor is that is P out is 8.2 kilowatts. Okay. Therefore, iron plus friction loss is equals to PA minus P out. So PA is the power developed in armature. Out of the total power developed in armature, some of that is used to satisfy iron loss and friction loss. Remaining power is at the output. So the remaining power at the output is 8.2 kilowatts. Power developed, we have calculated 8676.54 minus 8200. This is equals to, or this I will write it as P. No, it is not total armature loss. Leave it. Yeah, I will get 476.54. By 4 watts. Now, total armature losses. Total armature losses is equals to, it is copper loss 1215 watts plus 476.54. So this is equals to
169.
1691. Yeah, 91.54 watts. So this is the total losses. What is input? So efficiency is given by efficiency is equals to P out divided by PN. Okay, so this is third point. Total armature losses is third point. Right? So fourth point is to find efficiency. Next point is to find efficiency. P out divided by P in. So P out we got 8.2 kilowatts. It is given. Then what is P in? P in is equals to V into IL. Okay. So this is V is 220 into 45.
9,900.
9,900 watts. Therefore, motor efficiency is 8,200 divided by 9,900 into 100% efficiency.
$82.82.
82.82%. So the efficiency of motor is 82.82. This is one way. The other way of finding the efficiency is one more. Okay. Or Pn, same efficiency equation is same, P out by Pn. Okay. Where Pn is, I can write it as P out plus losses. P out plus losses, total losses in the machine, equals to So P out is 8,200 plus total losses are 1691.54. So this comes out to be
1.5.
9891.54. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Watts. What we got P in by directly multiplying V into IL is 9,900. It is 9,891. The difference is only of 9 watts. So small changes will happen. There is no much worry. This is one more way to find out. So percentage efficiency, I can write it as 8,200 divided by 9891.54.
82.89%.
82.9.
89.
82.89. Yeah. See, the gross percentage value is same. It is 82.82%. It is 82.89%. So it is same. There is no change. So that is one more way to find out the efficiency. So P in input can be given as output plus losses. Output can be given as input minus losses. Okay, so P out equals to, I can take input minus losses. It will be again same. Okay. So this is how to find the efficiency of a DC motor. Okay. Any doubts? So next we'll move to another example. A 220 volt DC motor runs at 500 RPM when the armature current is 50 amperes. Calculate the speed if the torque is doubled. So given, let me take, so V is equals to 220 volts. This I will take it as first case of speed. N1 is equals to 500 RPM. When armature current is 50 amperes. Let me take this as IA1 is equals to 50 amperes. Okay. And RA is equals to 0.2. Okay. So RA is equals to 0.2. So this is a shunt motor. To 20 volts. This is RA. EB. Always EB must be mentioned in with motor. Okay. We should not forget that. IA and this is IL. Now IL is not equal to IA. ISH. From the equation of torque, that is 0.159 phi z I into P by A. All other things are constant, and the torque is TA is proportional to phi into IA. TA is proportional to phi into IA. Now, for a shunt motor, phi will remain constant because shunt field current will remain constant. Therefore, phi is constant. Okay. So here, for shunt motor, okay, phi is constant. Therefore, the torque developed TA is directly proportional to IA. Okay. So what I can take is first case TA is proportional to IA1. TA1 is proportional to IA1. When current is 50 amperes, then and TA2, which is the torque proportional to IA2. If the torque is doubled, then armature current should also be doubled. Okay, so proportional to IA2. So I can take the ratio TA2 by TA1 is equals to IA2 by IA1. TA2 by TA1 is equals to IA2 by IA1. Now, what is TA2? Calculate the speed if the torque is doubled. It means that in second case, the torque is twice the first case. Given that TA2 is twice TA1. In the second case, in the given we can write here TA2 is equals to 2 times the TA1. If the torque is double means in second case torque is double the first case. So TA2 is 2 times TA1. So I can write 2 into TA1 divided by TA1 is equals to IA2 by IA1. So this will go out. IA2 I don't know, IA1 I know, which is 50 amperes. So therefore I can write, okay, IA2 is equals to, okay, 2 into IA1 is equals to 2 into 50 is 100 amperes. Okay, it is 100 amperes. Now I need the speed. Now speed comes in two equations. Okay, torque equation and back EMF equation. So TA is equals to 9.55 EBIA divided by N. Okay, or EB is equals to 5ZNP NP divided by A by 60. Okay, so in both the cases I should be finding what is back EMF. So remember one thing, whenever I want to find the speed, you should find back EMF. This is almost like a thumb rule, because back EMF is the only equation which have the speed in it in all the DC machine analysis. So when it is asked to find some speed, then it is a question of back EMF also. So we have see, actually I want the speed here. Calculate the speed if the torque is doubled. Okay, now if there is no mention about the torque, then this problem cannot be solved. Why? Because torque is mentioned, I could find out IA. Okay, I will tell you again. Now we have EB is equals to, or N2 by N1 is equals to EB2 by EB1. This is for shunt motor. Please remember, for shunt motor, 5.1 by 5.2 will not come. Okay, this is for shunt motor. We have for shunt motor. You should be remembering these two for shunt motor and series motor. Okay, you should not forget it. Or you generally remember N2 by N1 equals to EB2 by EB1 into 5.1 by 5.2. That will also do. Okay, and EB is equals to V minus IRA, or EB1 is equals to V minus IA1 RA, and EB2 is equals to V minus IA2 RA. If the torque information was not given, I would have not got the second case armature current. So to get second case back EMF, I need second case armature current. Therefore, the torque information is mentioned here. So from the torque information, I found out armature current. From the armature current, I will find EB. From EB, I will find speed. So these equations, you should not only just remember, you should also know how to relate. That will come by practice. You have to practice examples. You should not rely only on the examples. Those are solved in the class. Okay? In the class, the examples of various types will be solved. I can't solve the similar example, similar 4 examples in the class of the similar type. One thing is time will be gone. Second, you will get bored. Okay. So these are all the sample examples, different types of examples that are solved of the same type. You should practice. Yeah. So EB1 is equals to
190.
it is 220 minus I1 is 50 into 0.5, sorry, 0.2. So this is equals to
210.
210. Then EB2
200.
is 220 minus 100 into 0.2. It is 200. So what should be the speed now? Will it increase or decrease? If back EMF decreases, speed decreases. Okay. Therefore, N2 is equals to N1 into EB2 by EB1. Okay. So N1 is 500 RPM into EB2 is 200, EB1 is 210.
476.1.
476.19
19.
RPM. Okay. See, certain things you should observe. In the significance of back EMF, we have seen that for a DC motor, if the current increases, torque increases, speed decreases. Okay, so here current is increased from 50 to 100 amperes, speed has decreased from 500 to 476 RPM. One more thing what we have discussed, DC shunt motor is a constant speed motor. Observe, the current is doubled. Okay, torque is doubled, but the speed is not halved. Is it so? The speed decrease is only by some 23, 24 RPM, whereas current has gone from 50 to 100 amperes. So whatever the concepts we have observed in the analysis or in the conclusions, those you should be verifying, getting justified in the values what we get in the examples. So please don't take these examples as some substitutions in the formula, getting some numbers as answers. If you do so, you will fail in understanding the operation of machine. You can't read the theoretical aspects hours together and try to understand. You will never understand, you will never remember for a long time. Whatever the values we get, okay, whatever the answers we get, you should try to relate those answers with the theoretical concepts, what we have studied. If you don't do so, you will fail in understanding the subject. You will fail in understanding the machine. Okay, and machine will be much better understood from the numericals, not only by theory. Theory I will today explain, you will listen, you will feel you have understood today, but if you don't go back and what we can say, brush up the things, you will forget. So numericals are the evaluative tools for the concepts what we study in the theory. So here I am evaluating the performance. In the theory I told that as the load increases, torque increases, speed decreases. So here the torque is doubled, current is doubled, speed is reduced. And also we have seen in the DC shunt motor that if the speed, the DC shunt motor is a constant speed motor. Constant speed in the sense it is not like synchronous motor where the speed either it is synchronous or zero. it is fairly constant. In the characteristics we will study, the speed of DC motor, DC shunt motor will fairly remain constant. So the change in speed from its no load condition to full load condition is very minimum. You can observe with the doubling the torque, the speed is not halved. If I do the same on induction motor, a large amount of speed drop will occur. Okay, so you should be in a position to appreciate and observe these things what we study in the theory. So please don't take these numericals as only some mathematics that you have to substitute using some formula, get some result. No. If you study this subject in that way, you will fail in understanding the subject. Okay, so this is my concern when you solve the examples. Examples are the best tools to understand a particular concept or a particular machine, especially in this case, machine. Okay. So any doubts? If no, then we will move to next example. A 500 volt, 37.3 kilowatt, 1000 RPM DC shunt motor has a full load efficiency of 90%. The armature circuit resistance is 0.24 ohms and there is total voltage drop of 2 volts at brushes. So far we did not come across the brush drop. Now we have come across the brush drop. The field current is 1.8 amperes. Determine the full load line current, full load shaft torque in Newton meters. Torque can be in two ways in representation. I can represent in Newton meter or I can represent in kg meter. Okay. If I divide the Newton meter by acceleration due to gravity 9.81 meter per second square, then that value will become kg meter. Okay. You will understand in the load test of motors in the lab. There you use this formula. First you find out the torque in kg meter, then you multiply it with 9.81, it will give a Newton meter. Okay, so these are all the fundamental units, okay, and fundamental quantities that we should remember. Okay, so a full load shaft torque in Newton meter and the total resistance in the motor starter to limit the starting current to 1.5 times the full load current. I will tell when I come to third point what does this third statement significance is. Okay, so what is being given? So first I will draw a motor. It's a DC shunt motor. Always have the practice of drawing the motor given. Okay, so this is plus, minus. It is 500 volts. This is RSH. This is ISH, which is equals to 1.8 amps given it is. This is IA, RA, EB operating in counter. Given things. V 500 volts. Next. A 500 volt 37.3 kilowatt. It is the output. P out is 37.3 kilowatt. So you should remember that whenever a machine is rated with power, that is always the output power. Yesterday I told this. Speed is equals to 1000 RPM. There is a full load efficiency of 90%. The armature circuit resistance is 0.24. It is now RA is equals to 24 ohms and brush drop is 2 volts. Total brush drop is 2 volts. Okay. The field current ISH is 1.8 amps. So now I have to find full load line current IL, full load shaft torque TSH, third R external, okay, the total resistance in motor starter. Okay, starter is an external device connected to the motor. Okay, R external is equals to what? So these things I have to find. Okay, R external, if IST is equals to 1.5 times IL. IST is equals to 1.5 times IL. So these are the given things. So I have output, I have efficiency. I can find out input. So efficiency is equals to P out by P in. Okay, which is given 90%. Okay. Therefore, P in is equals to, I can write P out by efficiency. So which is 37.3 K divided by efficiency is 0.9. Okay, so this is equals to
41.4.
it is 41.44 K. Is it?
0.644.
Yes. 41.444 kilowatts. Okay. Now I have the input power. What is P in? And P in is equals to, for any motor, it is applied voltage into line current. For any motor, input power is applied voltage into line current. Therefore, IL is equals to, it is P in divided by V. So 41.444 K divided by 500. 828.88 amperes. Okay, it is 828 point, 828. One second.
Just a second. 82.88. It is 82.88. Sorry, I made a mistake. The current, it can't be so large. 82.88 amperes. Okay. Now I know IL. Can I get IA? I know ISH. This is my IL. So current entering is 82.88 amperes, out of which 1.8 amperes is flowing in the field circuit. Remaining is armature current. Okay. So for shunt motor, IL is equals to IA plus ISH. Therefore, IA is equals to IL minus ISH.
So IA is equals to 82.88 minus 1.8. So it is 81.08. So IA is 81.08. Okay. Next, what is the next point to be calculated? Full load shaft torque. Okay. So full load shaft torque, TSH, is 9.55 into P out divided by N. Okay. So all things are given. 9.55 into 37.3 K divided by 1000. So this will be 356.2 Newton meters. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now the third case, we should slightly go in small understanding. Sorry. Now the total resistance in motor starter to limit the starting current to 1.5 times. So what does this statement mean is, in the last semester you conducted experiments where you used DC motor starter, 3-point starter. In the procedure you read, okay, that whenever you did the alternator experiments, DC motor was used as a prime mover there. So to start that DC motor, we used a 3-point starter. Now the question is, can we start motor without starter? Or is starter necessary for motor starting? Okay. So first we should understand what for the starters are used. Okay. Generally, we can start any motor without any starter. We can do that. Okay. But why do we use starters? So starters are not the devices that will assist in starting. Okay, starters are not used for assisting the starting process of the motor. Rather, they are used to limit the starting current of the motor. The starting current of any motor is very large. Okay, it is around 4 to 5 times the full load current. Suppose the full load current of a machine, a rotating machine or a motor in particular is 10 amperes. Then the starting current without any starting mechanism, if I don't use any starting mechanism, if I directly put the motor into the operation, okay, directly if I supply the full voltage, then it may draw around 40 to 50 amperes of current, but not continuously. It will draw for a moment until the speed reaches around 60 to 70% of the full speed. Okay, it will draw large current. Now, why this operation of motor is like this? You can't avoid this. If you don't use any starter, the motor will take so large current momentarily. For a second or so, it will take that current. Now, if the insulation used in the machine is not of that quality, so as to withstand the large starting current, then we may get motor breakdown. The insulation may be lost, the conductors may be overheated and they may melt. Okay, so there may be electrical breakdown of the motor. Okay, if you just remember the starting of your water pump in your house. Okay, now before you switch it on and after you switch it on, the moment you switch on the motor, will you get a sudden sound, large sound? That sound is not retained when the motor is operating. That sound will reduce, okay, and we will get a smooth sound. Did you observe this? Or you don't have that much time to just do all these things? When you turn on the motor, water pump in your house, because you people are accessible only to the water pump as a little bit bigger size motor when compared to all other small 12 volt or 24 volt DC motors. Did you observe this sound? If you not, you observe now, hereafter. When the water pump has to be turned on to fill the overhead tank, this time you go rather than your parents and observe the sound. There will be a sudden thrust in the sound. That thrust will not be observed after the motor starts operating. Okay, the sound will become smooth. Okay, if you plot the sound, it will come like this over time. So this is the starting point of the motor, which will be for milliseconds or microseconds also. So this is why this happens is the motor is at standstill position. It has to be now moved into motion. Okay. Now remember Newton's first law. Okay. What does Newton's first law says? Yes. Anybody? At least the meaning, may not be exact statement. A body will continue to be in the state of rest or of motion unless and until the external force is applied to it. Now, if the body is under rest, then I have to apply external force to move it. If the body is in motion, I have to apply external force to stop it. Okay. Now the motor is at rest, the rotor is at rest. It is not started, it is not rotating. Now that has to be moved from the rest state to the motion. Okay. And while doing this, I have to overcome the weight of the rotor. I have to overcome the friction losses. I have to overcome the iron losses. I have to overcome the copper losses. I have to overcome the gravity. I have to overcome this windage losses. So the motor will take large amount of input energy when it has to move from state of rest to the motion. The same thing will happen with us. Suppose you are sitting at some point for a long time, then you want to get up. How much pressure you put on your limbs, hands or legs or on your joints when you want to get up from the sitting position? Will you put the same amount of pressure when you are walking already? So any body, it is not only the motor, any body, if it has to be changing its state, it will consume some energy. The same thing happens while braking also. It is not only from rest to motion, it will happen in braking also. Okay. So the starters why we use, okay, actually we have a point of syllabus 3-point and 4-point starter. Again, I will explain these things. So now I'm telling you briefly. So the function of a starter is not to assist starting. It is not that motor cannot be started without using starters. Those can be started directly by applying the supply. But the problem is motor will draw a large amount of current. That current has to be limited. And the work of a starter or the function of a starter is to limit the starting current. Okay. So all of you have moved that DC 3-point starter lever from your left to right. Okay, you moved it, right? So there was a lever, okay, and there was this one. You moved it from left to right. So when you move it from left to right, okay, the motor gradually started, and this lever got fixed at this point. So what was there in the middle was a resistance. So at this position of the lever, a large resistance was included in the circuit. Okay, because the motor is not yet started. So when I moved the lever from left to right, and when it came to the first point, okay, slight motor input is given. It started getting the input. As the contact points start getting ahead, okay, with the lever, then large voltage is getting applied to the motor. Smaller drops is happening. So when this lever comes to this point, now this part of the circuit is open. Lesser voltage drop is happening. All the voltage applying to the armature. This is in line with armature. Okay. So as the motor is catching the speed, the external resistance connected in the starter is getting reduced. And when the lever is at this final point, total starting resistance is taken out, and only the armature resistance is acting. Okay. So this is the function of starter, that this external resistance will limit the current. Okay. Now what I have to do is I have to find this external resistance to limit the starting current to 1.5 times, not 4 to 5 times. Okay. The third point. Is it clear why we use starter? So the total resistance in the motor starter to limit the starting current to 1.5 times. Okay. So here IST, the starting current, is equals to 1.5 times IL. IST is equals to 1.5 times IL. So what is starting current IST? Is 1.5 into IL is 88 point. Much? 82.88. So this comes out to be 124.32 amperes. Okay. So armature current is IA starting. Okay. The field current will not change. It is 124.32 minus 1.8. So this is 122.52. Amperes. So one thing we should observe, that the total voltage should get applied to armature. What is the voltage across armature now? It is 500. Okay. The voltage applied to the motor is 500 volts. Now voltage across these two terminals is 500 volts. So between these two terminals, what are the voltages we have? Okay. So we have IRA drop, okay, and brush contact drop. Okay. The current IA is flowing through RA, and the brush contact drop is 2 volts. Fine. So my external resistance should be in series with this motor, or external. This will be in series with armature. I told that this resistance, large resistance, what I am connecting, this will be in series with armature. Okay, this will be in series with armature only at the time of starting. That will be only at the time of starting, not all the time. Okay. Now, what is the voltage getting applied across armature? Is 500 volts. Remember one thing, EB is not acting. EB is 0 because it is the starting point. Speed is 0. Therefore, EB is 0. EB will not come into picture now. Because EB is not there, my starting current is very large. If EB would have been there, my starting current would have been less. But EB will be there only when the speed is there. But speed will come when the motor will start. Now the motor is in the starting point. It has not yet started. So before starting of the motor itself, the motor will tend to get the large current. I have to limit it. So EB will not come into picture now. Please remember this. So what I have in my armature circuit is this is 500 volts I have applied. This is R external, which is in starter. I told this resistance will be in series with armature in starter. Now, this is motor having some resistance Ra. And I have V brush. This is IAST, starting armature current. Now, can I write at start, what is the voltage from here to here? If I apply KVL, now this is what 500 volts. So it is 500 minus IAST into R external minus IARA minus V brush is equals to 0. Is it? Okay. Or I can write IAST RA, starting current. So IAST R external plus IAST RA plus V brush is equals to 500. So now complete applied voltage is the drop. Okay. Or I can write IAST into R external plus RA plus V brush is equals to 500. Now observe, I know RA, I have found out IAST, I know V brush it is given. The only unknown in the equation is R external. Okay, so R external I can write it as equals to 500 minus V brush divided by IAST minus RA. Now find out this. 500 minus 2 divided by IAST is 122.52 minus RA is how much? 0.24. So RST is equals to, sorry, R external is equals to so I need a external resistance of 3.82 ohms. To limit the current to 1.5 times IL. Did you understand? What the things? Yes or no? You people are there or you have left? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Respond. It will be a confirmation for me that you and me are still connected. Or else sometimes if network is lost, I may not be knowing. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Concept of starters we will discuss in starting starters. There is a dedicated topic of starters, the significance of starters, and 3-point and 4-point starters in first module. Again, we will discuss there. Yeah, somebody was asking something. Yes, any clarifications needed?
No, sir.
Okay, so if not, then we'll end here.